16 minutes after 6 on Morning Barbados. We continue the Thursday edition by welcoming back one of our regular guests. Jeremy Stephen is here to demystify and break down the cost of the central banks. Sorry, the price of the central bank's half-yearly report in our The Price of Everything segment. Welcome, Jeremy. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. My only hope is that it's not interpreted as a cost, because honestly, nobody wants to hear about the cost of anything at this point.
Well, we're coming to you as kind of blank slate, so you can write on us what you will and help us understand the intricacies of the central bank governor's half-yearly report.
I'm given permission to scroll up something at CBC. All right, great. I mean, my writing skills are very poor, right? But all right, look, many people out there have been asking a lot of questions about the half-yearly report, particularly in the area of why tourism was able to grow and why the economy grew by 2%, but 2.1, excuse me, but nobody knew why it happened. And it brought me to think what really is going to go on and what this means for the budget, the upcoming budget as well. Now, what we do know is that the middle class does feel a bit, I don't want to use the word, but we have to be honest, a bit impoverished. Obviously, a lot of the allowances were taken away. That ended up with people not being able to spend, and there's a general complaint that VAT receipts dropped by 2%, and that there's an arrears of 300 million thereabouts. And you're wondering what went wrong and how did it result in growth. So as we know, good. The economy went up by 2%. I got some numbers here just to be sure, because I know some of my old friends for the central bank are watching, just to show you guys I do my research. But people are saying that tourism year to date went up by 5%. That I feel is a bit strange, funny enough, because there is this general complaint that arrivals went up, yes, but spending went down. So you ask yourself, what really led this 2% growth? We know that government took a position where it's trying to increase its revenue. Obviously, VAT went up by 2.5%. There haven't been many cuts up to this point in different social programs. Government expenditure didn't really go down. They're looking to consolidate all of that. And on the consumption side, people are consuming less. Now, those are the three attributes that determine GDP: investment, consumption, and government spending. The fact is this: in tourism, when you hear those numbers went up, really, I think it might be attributed more to the investment side, having FDI coming in whatever form, although I did hear, sorry? FDI, foreign direct investment. Okay. So it's basically money that comes in from overseas, either in the form of equity or loan, depending on the term of the investment, meaning will they want back their money in a year's time, from the capital markets, 5 years' time if you're borrowing overseas, or if they want it back in 20 years' time as per the IMF, for instance.
So am I understanding you that foreign direct investment is considered tourism?
Well, no.
Or is under the
Think of it this way. This is where I have to really treat this thing as a primer. GDP is nothing more than a function of consumption plus investment plus government spending. All right. Okay. What I stated before was general consumption in the economy has gone down. I mean, in some way, we could look at the fact that VAT receipts fell as some measure of the fall in consumption. I mean, the price went up, not the price. You hear me? The VAT rate went up by 2.5%. But yet, general VAT receipts fell for the period.
Well, we hope it's not a situation of people just not paying it in.
But it could be that as well, too. It's the 300 million. But the fact is, if you had to read the figures, you would think, well, it's either consumption or arrears. It's much more difficult to determine if it's arrears versus the fact that people might not be buying as much. And the truth is, many people aren't buying as much locally anymore, especially when it comes to conspicuous consumption, which really should feed into the VAT receipts. So government isn't spending as much before. The government expenditure hasn't grown. I mean, they had to hold strain, and they're collecting on the revenue side. Great. So we know that aspect of GDP isn't really moving. So it makes you think it might be investment, having foreign direct investment coming in. It might be to support projects. Again, I'm speaking pure conjecture, but it could very well be helping out with Carverley. It could be actually feeding into other things. The villa, for instance, people are saying that villas, for instance, for picking up villa arrivals. It could be direct investment in villas. I don't know what it is. But that's the fact that a lot of people need to understand.
But not to be the tourism horse too much. Could it be a matter of just the numbers working out? Because if, I don't know how they do the projections, like in terms of if 10 people come, they expected to spend $10 each, so that's $100. But then we had 20 people come, and even though they spend $8 each, you know, because they say spending is down among them, you know.
Well, yeah, it results in more money. But the fact is this: yes, they did see arrivals were up, but if spending is down, it means that very well those 20 people might be spending $2.
Because those people are coming from jurisdictions that are also still trying to come out of this recession, and while they may be affordable, while they may be able to afford travel, their discretionary income has been reduced. So perhaps you can break down for us, Jeremy, where the tourism spend is going and how the average person can see the differentiation between tourism spend and arrivals. How does it make a difference to those of us who perhaps are not directly linked to the industry?
Well, all right, well, let's start from direct linkages. Many hotels are discounting right now. They're selling their rooms, well, renting their rooms because they're really rented at very, very discounted prices. What does that mean? It means that your wage bills, well, the wage bills should be cut. The hope is, because at least you know that employment within the tourism sector tends to be seasonal. So it just very well means that people might need to stay at home for a longer time. I don't know. Those are details that I'm not aware of. Now, how does it affect us in the future? It means that you're getting less and less tourism receipts, although, and the central bank, trust me, their officers, research officers are on this every day, all day, and they're basically projecting an increase in tourism at least coming into the last quarter. And a lot of that is actually dependent on those countries like the UK, our source markets, the UK and the US, coming out of this recession and people being able to open up the spending again. Canada has been a bit of a misnomer, and the Canadians have been favoring Latin America from all reports versus coming to Barbados. So how to attract them as a source market is actually an issue, and that's actually been one of the recommendations that a lot of economists have been putting forward lately in terms of how can government turn around the economy by trying to attract the Canadians with different or more, well, not different, but more innovative tourism products.
Can you talk about that? Why so many people are maybe choosing Latin America as an alternative? Because often you'll hear that people say we're an expensive destination. Is there anything that, you know, can be done maybe in the long term to change that?
Well, Latin America basically has the juice right now, for lack of a better term. Internationally, there's lots of news coming out of Latin America. The economies are buoyant. Canadians are actually very astute type of investors, and Barbados might just offer, well, good tax treaties, but in terms of a tourism product, yes, it's probably more expensive with little yield or little return in the immediate term. It might be better for a Canadian to go and probably buy a home in Latin America at this point, because very well more investment is heading towards those economies at this point, right? And very well it means that their return on investment is going to be high, especially, let's say, in real estate. And I'm not even going to start on commodities, which is a big pusher.
Well, we're going to come back, and perhaps we can give you a little bit more time to discuss commodities. We are discussing the price of everything with our financial consultant, Jeremy Stephen. This segment discusses the implications of the recent central bank half-yearly report. This is Morning Barbados, the Thursday edition. We're going to take a break and come right back.